Hey guys, welcome back to World End Economica episode 2. This is number 3, episode 2 technically, but you already know that from the title of the video. But when the door closed, Marco spoke to me. It seems like we weren't able to attend the ceremony because it was a fundraising meeting. Ah. This office doesn't look like it's changed at all, to be honest. I heard they're down 14% from the last quarter. Must be hard. In the present market, a literal monkey could go around haphazardly buying things up and still end up with a positive return. That's a risk you take when you go against the current and challenge conventional wisdom. Must have been tough 4 years ago when he was trying to short sell Avalon stock. I just can't understand his philosophy. Well, he does have a few hardline followers. If you have allies who fight to their last breath, so you've got nothing to fear. I hope so. I had allies like that before, and I knew what it was like to abandon them. Based on my experiences, I could hazard a guess at Wallace would be fine. He must have already gone through harsher stuff and would have broken a weaker man's spirit by now. Marco seemed to ponder whether or not he should speak at all for a moment, and then spoke his mind. There have been a lot of rumours lately. I heard he's been sinking a lot of money into something outrageous. Besides, there's quite a difference between using short selling as one option out of several, and relying solely on short selling. That's quite persistent criticism. Well, I knew you didn't like pessimism. He sulked. So what are you trying to tell me? With that, he made up his mind. Well, the rumours are responsible, so I don't think we should associate too openly with him. Money begat money. Success drew people. Conversely, failure begat failure, and losers spread misfortune like a plague. You mean on top of our own fund's performance starting to lose steam? He reacted as though being scolded. I wouldn't go that far. We're still pulling strong fingers. Keening Goldsmith. Sure seemed upset though. Here's a little... There was an individual from Earth who had contributed a fair amount to the investment fund I managed. But he seemed to be rather high-strung and constantly messaged us with questions. Guess it wasn't that unreasonable, though, given just how much he's entrusted to us. And again, there's always going to be someone like that in a successful business, so I wasn't worried about it. But for Marco, who was the one actually replying to his messages, it must have been one of the clients Marco just couldn't handle. Anyway, there are a lot of life lessons to be learned from Earth's history. Huh? Supposedly, when the whole world was at war long ago, the Prime Minister of a great country paid out a large sum of money to build a TV prize solely of pessimists, to contrast his own judgment. Wallace's fight is a scale to be balanced. I've never met anyone who was uncompromisingly pessimistic as him. If you're trying to find a pessimist with that kind of analytical ability in today's world, you might as well be looking for a psychic. You're not wrong. Would you go out of your way to look for pessimistic outlooks when you can make money in your sleep? Every conversation with him is valuable. He's full of insights you can't find anywhere else. That's true, but... And to top it off, he never backs down, no matter who he's up against. I'm actually kind of looking forward to tonight. I smoked at Marco. He replied with a reluctant half-smile. You're so childish sometimes, Hal. I take that as a compliment. I'm starting to get a little worried. What kind of speech is he going to make in a place filled with the most successful people on the moon? Marco seemed to be getting pretty upset, and again, I knew what I was feeling. It wasn't a matter of logic, but one of emotion. Except Marco was putting on an act where he's never really been good at lying. Hey, if you don't like it, no one's forcing you to go. What? No, that's not what I meant. I'll still go. He replied, acting like I had insulted him. I shrugged and pointed to a wall dividing our office from Wallace's. After all, Marie's going to be all by herself until our meeting's over. Huh? Even the lunar surface isn't quite safe lately. Even when we are in the red, but still donated generously to a housing project. You wouldn't mind thanking Marie in person, would you? He stood still, his mouth hanging open. I'm counting on you. Yes, certainly. Leave it to me. He straightened right up as he said it. It felt good to be someone's wingman. After thinking that, I approached my desk, saying, well, time for work. I glanced at a ridiculously large picture adorning the office wall. Bright red on a black background. The dream had been chasing ever since I was a child. Mars. I've got a long way to go. Got it. Marco's energetic response echoed throughout the office. opening time. Well, that was a fun opening. I have to admit, I do like the opening, and if this is anything to go by, I mean, we should have expected this, but a certain someone is going to be returning to our sides at some point. Investment funds were a fitting business on the lunar surface. No large-scale manufacturing, difficult human resource management, or enormous warehouses to worry about. Your office could be a room in the corner of your house. And a phone line, you could have just about anything you need to start your operations. Yet you could be dealing with millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions of malls. Amounts of money most people couldn't even imagine. This is where money created money. And all of it was just numbers on a ledger on a server. Often no one ever even saw the actual money. Calling it a money game was quite fitting. There was a thrill of watching your good judgment pay off, and a shame of watching your bad judgment sink you. You could amass a fortune you'd never be able to exhaust, or a debt you'd never be able to pay off. In the world of finance, a single person was insignificant. Because of that, those individuals could entertain in their visions of grandeur, thinking that if they could succeed here, they could do anything. Speaking honestly, this was the reason why I couldn't leave this sector. I could never achieve my dreams anywhere else. How? The stocks of a major retail chain, Big Value, is being sold off in bulk. It's pretty cheap. What do you think? Don't bother. I entered Blackley has looked over research data and paid $1 for. A huge amount of info came in every day. It's hard to get through all of it, even if you just skimmed it. But if you don't have your eyes on it until recently. Yeah, I was eyeing it. I even went to one of their stores. Big Value was just one of the rare big rock stores that sold everyday commodities over the tiny lunar surface. They've been in business around 10 years. At some point they crept away from their traditional low prices and built up a network of branch stores carrying everything up to luxury goods that ended up seizing the market. I don't think the numbers look all that bad. Stocks are an expectation from the company's future. Sales are going to stop for a bit. So then no one should start buying up their stock. Where to learn that? Marco could handle more just miscellaneous work. He also researched stocks are picked, making reports about their characteristics, so when he knew he missed something, he was more displeased and embarrassed. I went to a distribution centre. Meaning? I checked over the shape and quality of their shipping containers, compared them to those of a few similar companies. I also looked at how quickly they replaced those containers. I found their supplier and inquired about the container's manufacturer. Seems they haven't made any orders for any new containers this quarter. In other words, it means they've reached their limit for goods in circulation and won't be increasing anytime soon. Huh? Marco, his mouth agape, stared at what data had originally pulled up before turning back to me. Merchandise in circulation always requires something to move it around. Big Value stock is probably being sold in bulk because someone else realised the same thing I did. I sighed. Of course, despite that, we can't really short sell it either. The lapse in sales is probably temporarily. They could have just been hesitating to buy new shipping containers for this quarter. So either way, it's enough information to make me cautious about buying it. I see, but I already knew what I was going to say. At the moment, the assets in my funds are managing to become a little bloated. There's nowhere to invest it, just become floating around. When I've been calling a World End Economica for passing investments like this before, he chuckled a little at that. The frightening thing about you is you always honestly believe that about yourself. I sure do. I'm a half-witted, naive, stubborn bastard of a donkey. Looking for cheap stock in this old age is something only an idiot would do. But searching specifically for stocks that doesn't look like they're going anywhere is about as dumb as you can get. Right now, most people are just cows following the herd and gambling over movements of the market. By cows, I meant those who prefer the investment technique of relying on the impulse mindless investing in stocks. Would look like we're revising, or as I called it, momentum. Rising price drew people in, which caused the price to rise further, which in turn caused an even bigger wave of activity. As of those investors who are taking blind risks and letting the market couldn't carry with them, were like a herd of cattle being driven by a cowboy. 4 years ago, I managed to be the first to implement the dimension of market sentiment into a mathematical program, and I outwitted the market. But I've become too commonplace now, and thinking of deciding how far you can blindly face forward while ignoring your surroundings. Stock prices continue to climb at a rapid pace, which is why being a wooden-legged donkey, stopping to think about the next move, made it difficult to catch up. You're being too pessimistic. Like I told you before, it's definitely a downward trend, but should you take a close look at the last trade journal? It's the top 15% of its half. Maybe it's good luck, maybe it's just bad luck. At any rate, the moon stock market declined when Avalon collapsed because people suddenly became much more wary, but it lasted a few months. After that, it had nowhere to go but up. As it stands, you can guarantee a decent profit just by spreading your funds across the whole market while avoiding the duds. But I mean, my own investment performance isn't any higher than normal for this quarter, right? Anyone who'd put up a little effort could match me. But aren't you a wooden-legged donkey because of how impressively stable you are? There was a hint of criticism in Marco's expression. It was like he was accusing me of flaunting my humility. But I really did wear the title wooden-legged donkey with pride. There was, of course, a good reason for that. Should the hurricane of insanity change its course, the only one who'd stay on his feet would be a dim-witted but stalwart donkey. How? I'm just going to say it. These guys out there worship you because they think you're saying that out of modesty. I glowered at Marco, but this time, he was the one who shrugged. Temperance and conviction are things that other people spend a lot of money trying to achieve. Maybe I should have a chat with Dr. Wallace. To do that, I need to have temperance and conviction. I contemplated that. It's like a Zen riddle. It's pretty clear to me, actually. I can also sympathise with how I admire the Zen meditation, like being a way to achieve temperance and conviction. But still, I wonder if we better just follow the herd a little more. I snorted softly. I understood the market was getting a little irritated trying to get me to act. I certainly had to become more reserved, because little by little, I've been lagging behind the market's movement, and I've become more and more out of touch with it. The market was closed today, and so the stock price in my display remained frozen. No matter which of tens of thousands of companies' stock prices I looked at, they all seemed far too high from an investment perspective. Occasionally, people believed their past successes would repeat themselves in the future, got too cocky, and started investing recklessly. But that could only get you so far. I asked myself countless times if I was scared of failing again. I had my own scars, and knew from experience that other companies like Avalon might be lurking in the market. That was where I was confident about reasonable risks and return. I'd boldly taken my gambit and gotten results to back my claims. If I were to tell anyone my investment returns were amongst the industry's top 15%, they'd tell me I'm doing well. But actually those wealthy individuals who contacted me wanting me to invest their money for them, and handling over millions, sometimes tens of millions or more. I used their money to build profit to establish a not-insignificant foundation of my dreams. And the fact was that the amount of risks I allowed myself to take were decreasing every day. My legs were rapidly stiffening. Conversely, there were guys like Eagle and his buddies who were putting in numbers that no one had ever seen before. Just as music and clothing fell out of style, so did investing methods. This was just a fact of life. Could I be falling behind the times? Was I able to look at myself, my own performance objectively, or was I just torturing myself? It was the most stable of my life had ever been. I had many people supporting me, I had plenty of experience, and I was earnestly moving forward. And yet, more and more I found myself doubting myself. Marco said it was temperance and conviction, and I think I agreed with him. He wasn't wrong. I reassured myself that as I looked over a poster of Mars. Well, maybe it's just very inexperienced. You can't expect a fresh off the elevator immigrant from Earth to act as discreetly as you. I wasn't sure whether he was trying to be polite or not. You're acting a bit different today, Marco. I felt embarrassed knowing that he was trying to give me encouragement. The ever honest Marco grimaced as he continued. I saw everything unfolding between you now and from the sidelines. I'm confident I understand that, unlike on the TV dramas, sticking to your convictions on a lunar surface can be as cool as can be embarrassing. Huh? Of course, I didn't experience it myself, but I do think I was really lucky to got to be near you and Eleanor. Marco had an earnest look in his eyes. Once we had set in motion the events that could eventually lead to Avalon's full-blown collapse, there's no reason for that Linda to stay on the moon. Instead of going with her, however, he requested to stay here as my assistant. I don't think I could be summed up as mere admiration. He knew many times Eleanor wanted to give up. He knew that I could be joining a battle I'd already lost once. But he revered Eleanor. When I joined forces with her, we accomplished something magnificent. Therefore, he began to see me the same way. Yet in his case, it was not mere admiration. While he still respected me, he also recognised me as a rival he needed to topple in order to ascend to new heights. That's what I like about him. He just wasn't some fanboy of Earth at the beginning of the 20th century. He was just wonderfully old-fashioned in spirit. Well, I do believe that connecting others is important, but whether that connection proves fruitful or not is just luck, just like you said. I seemed to make him overwhelmingly happy. But he stiffened suddenly moments later, the expression melted into one of dismay. That's exactly why I wanted to go to a meeting with all the hotshots tonight. I stared at Marco, but he didn't meet my gaze. I couldn't bring myself to hate the childish side of his. I wondered if that was because I was getting older. Granny Maria had also been invited to a meeting. He nodded in disgruntled approval. I wanted to ask you. Yes? His eyes darted around nervously. What kind of restaurant do you think Maria would like? Oh, well, thank you very much for watching, guys. My name has been Fudce. Remember to like and subscribe the video if you enjoyed it. And have a wonderful day. Bye bye.